Hey folks, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year!
And happy birthday to me. This is releasing on my birthday on December 31st, New Year's Eve. And what we're doing is we're just doing a year in review. So we're going to give you guys a format that's worked for us to really frame the past year in a way that gets us geared up and excited and motivated to go into next year. So we'll share how we've won and learned this year.
All the things that we, have felt like there was a success, but also what did we learn? Instead of looking at the negatives, we're reframing that. So,
all right,
come on in.
See you in there. Hey, folks.
Welcome back.
Happy New Year. Happy birthday to me also.
It's this guy's birthday.
December 31st, last day of the year. My father calls me his little tax write-off.
That's so nice of him. It's like so sweet and fatherly.
I know. I feel loved every single year. But much more than that, of course.
I'm really excited about this podcast. It's fun. And actually, we want to challenge you guys to do this as well. Looking over your past year. Yeah,
it's a perfect time here in New Year's Eve here as this is releasing, but it's a perfect time to just kind of go and do that year in the review. We naturally do this anyways. And this is really a playoff, Aaron, of what you've been doing quite a bit lately. And it's even how, if it goes back to our podcast on the fear of failure, right? Where you brought up you're either winning or you're losing. No.
Nope.
Winning or you're learning. Fact check.
Yeah, no such thing as failure. You're either winning or you're learning. And so as you're going back and reviewing the past year, so often when we're not intentional about the lens in which we're reviewing things, we can go pretty negative. But if you look at it through a lens of, okay, what were some wins? And then what did I learn? And that's just a reframe of instead of being how did I fail? It's what did I learn from it? And I can't even tell you how many times I have to talk to my daughter who is melancholic, who actually is I'm not good at this immediately, right away. I'm not perfect at this. And I'm well, what did we learn? She's probably going to be so mad about it.
She often has to do that to her husband also, who is...
What did we learn?
Yeah, what did we learn? How do we grow from this? Okay, so that's the invitation here. So what we're going to do is we're going to model this for you guys. And just we're going to give our year in review. We're going to give a couple of different categories, but we've got on our sheet of paper, we've got the category. So personal or spiritual or relationship, family-wise, whatever kind of you're evaluating, area of your life you're evaluating. And then we have two columns next to that where it's either the winning column, and that's where the success has been obvious. You hit your mark, what you were expecting to do. And keep in mind, you always get to define what success is. And that's the beauty of it, right? Yeah. But then next to that, we have the learning column. And this is where we didn't necessarily hit our expectations. But what did we grow? How did we grow? What did we learn from it? What was the Lord possibly doing in our lives? And guys, this goes back into one of my favorite podcasts that we ever did, which was Baptizing the Gap and the Gain.
Yes.
By Dan Sullivan.
Yep.
Amazing guy in terms of just in the personal development world. But the concept of the book is you always measure success looking backwards, not going forward, right? You always want to look back to see where the gains are that and how you've grown. Because that keeps you excited in the fight versus looking forward, how far you have to go, where you've fallen short. That just exhausts you emotionally, and then you just bow out of the fight.
It's always about the frame that you're looking at it through.
Yep.
Because we are fans of you guys looking forward and dreaming with God and hoping for the future. But if you're doing it from that lens of being I have this much more to go, that's going to be a different thing. So really our goal here is just to, like Matt said, model what this looks like, what winning looks like. And like we said, obvious. But here's another thing. I think when you sit and ask people, hey, can you review this past year? The first thing that will come to mind are all the problems.
Yes.
And they won't start with the winning.
Yep.
And so even just reframing the order of how you ask the question and be where did you win this last week or this last year? And we do wins calls every week with our group. our faculty, our staff. And it's great because it's like small increments. So that's another thing you could do with your family, with your group, whatever it is.
It's being intentional with the story that you're going to be telling.
Yes.
Here. So much of the work that even the podcast, the theme has been on storytelling, and people can tell some really crap stories. And if you're not intentional about creating a good success story or winning story or learning story, we default, from a sense of false humility or beating ourselves up to better. We default to these toxic crap stories, and they don't help. Okay. So the invitation here, all right, is to follow this format. If you like it, we're going to, again, model it for you guys, but it's where were you winning? Where were you learning? And let's do it. Ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we already defined what it is. Winning is like,
where's a definite success?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how you actually would describe the success. And then learning is what were things that didn't go as you had hoped, but you learned from them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt,
What about you?
All right. So for get into this. Okay. So my first category that we're looking at is just metanoia, right? Our business, metanoia Catholic. Like what's in the W column?
Wait. As people are going through this, you could just throw in professional life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So like taking a look at your professional life. Okay. So I would say that certification was another win. Like certification was a win. We had a goal of 60 people joining certification. We have 68 people that have joined certification, which I'm fired up for that. And it just continues to be an amazing experience. The people that graduated earlier this year, they're now part of our pro coach community, which is kind of like our post certification community where people continue to just operate in a collaborative environment as they're getting their coaching businesses or, growing their coaching skills or getting things up and running.
Yep.
That's been amazing. I love that we've invested into scaling this program so we don't have to just cap it at 60 people or 68 people, but we can actually have more people join the cohort because we've actually grown our instructor pool. So not only do our current cohort, does it have a primary instructor, but also two assistant instructors that are going through and they're learning how to be primary instructors.
And the goal was to have two, but we have people having babies. So,
oh gosh. Okay.
Yes.
But literally having babies, not metaphorically having babies. literally having babies.
Yep.
So we got depth though. So it's just like we can continue to have that great experience. But that depth gets me excited because scaling things gets me excited. And so like certification, it's a win.
I think a win for me is establishing the future for the academy and like us being aligned on that. And just understanding who it's for and what it's there to do. That is just a major win. And this kind of spills over into the next category, which is spiritual, but which is how we kind of got there.
But the academy is huge. If you're like, that was something, folks, we started it just really modeling it a lot after Brooke Castillo's life coach school and her self-coaching scholars and having just group coaching calls and it really just being an opportunity for people to come on and get coaching, group coaching. So one-on-one coaching, scalables, group coaching, but it didn't really have much of a journey path. And so we've been discerning that journey path for years, and the Lord's really put it heavy on our heart to help people unlock and engage their unique apostolic mission. Yeah. And that just fires me up.
That's clear. And that's a win. So establishing the future for the academy and then expanding our offers to this is more of a win. It's more of a personal win for me, but living in this community at Ave Maria, I don't know. We talked about this a number of times. Like we both hate waste and we're like, why are we even here? Like nobody's utilizing, we can bring so much to these and really AMU, Ave Maria University invited us to come in and do some live presentations for, their programs on the temperaments. And then also Donahue Academy, which is a school that my daughter goes to. It was just kind of expanding it throughout, more locally. And it just felt very home and real.
And relational.
Yes.
Relational.
Yeah.
The future of the church, new evangelization is relational.
Well, and ministry. Keep in mind, we started online. And so that is where we'll probably always be is online, but just doing stuff in person, I think is great.
Yes.
Let's go into learning.
Or do you want to go winning and just go across the board?
No, I want to do both.
Back and forth.
Yeah. Because I think it's, Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, babe.
All right. Learning. The live event.
Yeah.
That I can't believe that was still like this year. So we were going to do a live event. We have an entire podcast on it, but we just like didn't discern. We did, but it was like really rushed. And so what we learned was like, don't rush these things, discern it, and also don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
And like that was kind of a consistent theme too. It's like, I think we're like acting too big for our britches right now, you know, and the Lord just like humbled us and made us small again. And we're actually kind of okay with it because I don't know, it was just very much a mercy.
Yes.
That was something that I learned.
Yeah. I intentionally left that one out because we dedicated an entire podcast episode calling Learning from Expensive Lessons.
Yes.
Yes. Because that was a nice $40,000
we talked about that. That was earlier this year. So you guys can go back and listen to that.
Right in January of 2024. You can find that one. My learning?
Yeah.
Okay. My learning was another program that we released this year. It was called Mentor Training. And the program was a great program. And from a price point to a delivery standpoint, to what people were value wanting. Proposition, to like what people like, it didn't really resonate. We had like we didn't hit in terms of like the amount of people signing up for it and the appeal. It caused some confusion with our other certification product, which is why we got rid of its predecessor, Catholic Coaching Foundations, in the first place. And so we're still in that land of confusion. And so, and it was something that just wasn't going to be the sustainable fit or take us to the next level that we thought it was going to do. But at the same time, like we'd done a pilot on it, had a great experience with the pilot, and a lot of our coaches that had gone through this as well, the people that were certified or getting ready for certification, went through the part of the pilot group, got some great feedback with that. It forced us to generate some really good discernment resources. Yeah. Again, a fruit of our terrible discernment.
Yes.
With the live events. And so like being able to build those things out and create some of the journey paths that we're going to be adapting into new products here in 2025, that was so cool.
I think a great lesson with this is like, you can actually kind of buffet style, like take things that worked and apply them to new trainings, which is really what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So it's not, we're not like tossing this entire training, but it's like, we're taking like the elements that were so needed and continue to be needed, like the active listening and the locus of control, like those basic lessons that need to go before any type of coach training. Like we're keeping those. And so there was a lot of learning, also just the things that we established and created, like are recyclable.
Yeah.
And is that a word?
Recyclable. Yeah. But stay tuned on what that new mentor replacements, training is going to be, because I think this is going to be a winner.
I mean, there's tons of things that we learned, but like those are probably the biggies.
Those are some of the big ones. Yeah.
Also just like pausing and I think I would say, even speaking to the academy, pausing and knowing that alignment on the team is huge. Like there was just so many discernment things that we learned.
Well, let's get into that, because I think that like this kind of bleeds over into the next category here, where we're talking about spiritual. Like, what were some spiritual wins for you, Erin?
So like I said, that also just like this relinquishing control over the academy and over just other things that have always been like attached to control on, and, you know, throughout the past year and just journaling, the Lord just kept bringing it back to like, develop your gifts. It was like this motto, this like, Erin, I want you to develop your gifts, like more so like charisms, like your gifts. And then the Encounter School ministry, like that kept coming back, and people kept going, how are you not trained in that? Or how are, you know, like, why aren't you in that yet? And I was just like, okay. So like, I kind of took that. So I signed up for that. That's like a win. And I always say to Matt, I'm like, it's like my favorite part of the week is just going to, that class. So shout out to Encounter. school of ministry. Wonderful, 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 and very aligned with what we do, but more so that spiritual side of it. So that for me was a big win. I think that's all I have.
Yeah. So
There's a lot of wins spiritually.
I mean, spiritually, it even ties into the business, but even on a personal level. So like we walked away from that big $40,000 lesson on the live event, recognizing that we had been ignoring a lot of discernment red flags, and we were not really going to the Lord to consult on how to move forward on certain things. And so we knew that we needed to pray more, and we needed to pray more as a team. It wasn't just Aaron and I. Like we have people that we trust on our team, and we know that the Lord is speaking through them here as well. And so we wanted to just open up the table for this. And so one of the things that we introduced this year was every Monday we started with what we call our CEO meeting, where even if we can't all be together, and we have, Hannah's in Kansas City and Abby's in Louisiana now, we all have a morning holy hour, right? At the same time on Monday morning. And then sometimes we have something that we're intentionally praying about, specifically in like asking for guidance in the business. Sometimes it's just open, right? And it's just whatever the Lord is communicating to us.
And we've always done the holy hour, but this time we've come back and we discuss it now. We've always done the holy hour.
We've always done the holy hour?
Yeah, all last year we did it too.
All last year we did it too?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
When Abby was here.
Okay. All right.
No, but
we got a little bit more. Yeah. So we started to really come and unpack it.
Is we would come back and discuss what did we get in prayer.
Yes.
Because we never really did that.
We would just go right into an operations meeting. Okay. And so, so we've integrated, thank you. We've integrated that a lot more. Man, that's happened so fast. It seems like it was just yesterday. Okay. So you've integrated just the Lord's word, that rhema, that's speaking to our hearts into the group. So we have like a much more, just a richer discernment collectively, but also with that discernment, recognizing that Aaron and I have a special charism in light of the owners and the leaders of Metanoia Catholic, that we are the primary stewards of the vision, and it doesn't take anything away from the rest of the team. It's just the reality of how, it's our primary responsibility by virtue of, being the business owners. And so Aaron and I, we've learned also this year, it kind of gets into learning, but like we've started to actually pray together more, specifically with the vision, so that we can deliver this to our team rather than abdicating the burden onto their shoulders. It's really our primary responsibility as the visionaries. So that's been cool. And that's even like opened up a new fecundity to our marriage, fruitfulness our marriage, where it's just like, blessed are the barren, right? We were blessed to have one kid, but we've experienced 7 years of infertility, and now we're having like
almost 7 years
again of infertility. And so the Lord just continues to invite us to learn new opportunities to be fruitful, and in relationship, not only together but bringing the Lord into our marriage, which has been
I think also
rad.
Just like you started to go into the learning piece, and I think it's funny because I didn't even read what you wrote, but I wrote something really similarly, and like my prayer. So now moving into learning, my prayer moved from very much like strategy and collaboration with God. And I want to say like with air quotes, like prayer, but it was really like working a little bit and like working in the adoration chapel and working and yes, I was like creating things with God, and I could argue I was like co-creating them with him, but there was a lot of unrest and control around it. And really, it wasn't until I started shifting my personal prayer, like I said before, it's like to kind of lean a little bit more into my gifts and how the Lord taught me how to pray from the very beginning. And it's a simple prayer, but it's also like knowing my sensory preference, which we kind of get into with the Advent, like knowing how the Lord has always spoken to me, and just like allowing that being open, and also relinquishing control, and just like pride, and like, this is my position. You put me in this position, and like people need to listen to me, and they're just like, well, no, they're not going to listen to you if you're not actually like articulating a vision, which I'm the only one who can articulate that to you. That's like the Lord saying that to me. So it's, it was a lot of humility humbling, and just like letting go of that control. But yeah, and just coming more relationally into the relationship with God. I would say my relationship with God the Father has really started to like just blossom. I don't think I ever had a strong, close relationship with God the Father. My relationship with the Holy Spirit started early. It was probably the earliest. And then, moving into a relationship with Jesus. And Jesus is a little easier because he was like a human, and you can like picture him in your mind and go watch The Chosen and be, inspired that way. But, God the Father is a little more elusive. And so he's been kind of calling me into that space and realizing more of this like spirit of adoption and like, you guys all heard my podcast. If you haven't, I was like crying my eyes out talking about the movie Annie.
The little orphan Annie. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, even just still unpacking that, I'm realizing like, oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. This is God the Father coming in and speaking to my heart right now.
Yeah. So echoing what's going on with you. So at the beginning of the year, we had this amazing opportunity where Father Boniface Hicks came and stayed with us for a couple of days. And it's just wonderful having good, holy people that you're kind of like that tea bag is just kind of steeping into your world, right?
Yes.
And it just starts to color what's going on. And there was like even a conversation where like it almost got heated in our conversation with him at one point because he was so passionate about drilling homes. He was sharing about the importance of relationship and how often we can get so technical in our approach to prayer and ritual that we miss out on the entire relationship. And I can see this man having a special gifting of drawing people into relationship. And anybody who's ever met him or listened to him is just like, he's just such a father, right? And he was just like, Matt, it's about relationship. It's about relationship.
I don't think I was there.
I'd heard it.
You're saying that it got heated. I'm like, I must have missed that part.
Well, I felt a tension that was there with it. Okay. And I drove him home from the airport and we talked about it a little bit.
Okay. Got it.
So we drove him to the airport, but I felt it. But that stuck with me for the entire year, Matt. It's about relationship. And so I got to like talking about it a lot more and integrating it into my coaching and talking about with my clients without ever really fully understanding it. I'm still like, I say that as if I fully get it now, but work in progress here. Permission to be a work in progress, but definitely have a deeper understanding of it now than I did before. And specifically, the learning in my prayer life has been don't be so mission focused in your relationship, just be relational focused and or like focus in the relationship. Taylor Welsh gave that podcast that you gave to me about a month ago. And he spoke about how the Lord has these seasons where he calls us into some sort of a growth or a next leveling or a spiritual promotion,
like a transition,
where it's kind of like the parable of the good steward that, has been given 5 talents. And there's like, okay, you did really well. Here's 10 cities, right, to govern, right? So the Lord, you do well in the small things. He promotes you and gives you more things to steward. That's just what God does. And there's a part of me that is anticipating perhaps where the Lord, or hoping where the Lord is calling me as like, okay, when I get put in charge of 10 cities, I'm gonna have more money, right? I'm gonna have more like material provision, right? And it started to bring up in me that what Taylor Welsh talked about, where it's just like, hey, you're not wanting this promotion because of the relationship, the deeper relationship that you and I get to have. You're doing it because you want to satisfy this idol worship that you have for provision outside of relationship with me. And it just brought that to the surface. And so how has this been showing up in my prayer life? Asking God what he wants to talk about first before I say what I want to talk about. Typically, I want to talk about the business, right? The other way it's been showing up even in my relationship with Avila, right? Where I'm approaching the relationship not so much as just me teaching her stuff and getting things done together, but just sitting on the couch, right? I shared this the other day, this little story with the team about where Avila the other night, she came over and she was, Mom, you and I were on the couch. We were watching Miracle on 34th Street. She was sitting with you and she actually got up, walked away from Mom, sat with Dad. She's like,
which never happens.
Which doesn't happen. And so I was like, this is special. But it got my melancholic going. I wonder how long this is going to last. Okay. It's like, Matt, be present.
That's and why so she doesn't sit with you, Matt.
As I, okay. Ouch. And so as I'm thinking of this, though, I actually asked her, I said, I wonder if you're going to sit with me like this and cuddle when you get older. And she squeezed me tighter and she goes, but Dad, I'm cuddling with you right now. And I was like, hey, where'd you go? Come back to me.
Yeah.
And God present. Is like that too. Stay present. Even this morning, she got up early and it was in the middle of my prayer time. And I went and I just sat on the couch with her and she was still kind of tired. So she just kind of cuddled with me. And I was thinking to myself, oh, I know this is such a gift, Lord. This is like how you hold me. And I started to kind of go into this place of like, you know, imagining the Lord holding me as I'm holding her. And at that moment, I heard the Lord say, no. Just hold her.
Just be present.
Just hold her. Like, just allow her to minister to you right now. Don't go into your head with this. Just experience this right now. There's a formation that's taking place. You don't need to go into your head with it.
It's like Marie Montessori, the apostolate of the child.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like you're being formed. If anything, like it's just like you're not going to be able to imagine me holding you like this until you experience holding your daughter like this. So just allow me to pour in through her right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So learning.
Yeah. Well, okay. I would add one more thing too. I think a lot of times I would like do that work, air quotes, like work prayer, like being like, it's prayer, but it's really work. Because it came from like a scarcity place of like, I'm going to run out of time, like wanting to be efficient with time. And one thing that I did learn is when I do surrender control over to the Lord, it's almost as if in my prayer time stands still. He's so much more efficient. Like, because if you think about it, it's like there's all this removing of like confusion, but also pride. And like, he doesn't have to break through all those barriers anymore. And like, you have to figure this out, like all of those lies. It was just like, I am shocked, and I know I shouldn't be, but I am absolutely shocked at like how efficient it is. And I'm not even saying that's why I do it anymore, but it's like, why not do it? Because it is like more efficient.
Well, it's very much relationship identity mission.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And so it's going to the source of just that relationship and there's and allowing the mystery. So if you're going to be truly present with somebody, we got to get out of our head. So I needed to get out of my head. And because it's in that relationship where you start to understand your identity, or you experience a knowledge of your identity that goes beyond the intellectual head understanding knowledge of it, and that overflow. There's a fruitfulness that overflows into mission from there.
Yeah,
cool.
Needless to say, we learned a lot in spiritual, and I'm just so excited where the Lord is taking it. All right, let's do relationships.
Yeah,
what's winning?
So I with my. With Jerry, like, Pat, and Rick.
Okay, is this like friends and colleagues? Well, when you say relationship,
yeah. So like friends, colleagues, and stuff like that. Like there's been some wins and some learning going on here. So after we got together in January, we started. There was a group of us that just said, "Okay, let's just continue to like get together." And there's no real agenda to the calls. We're just going to create a space and we're going to come together. And it's been awesome to just have other guys that, you know, there's some mission alignment that's there. And sometimes we're talking mission stuff. Sometimes we're just sharing our lives. And I recognized that I needed something like that, that wasn't so mission focused, though it like, but had a little bit of that, you know?
Yeah.
But it could just be human and open and share all the good and crazy stuff that we don't necessarily want to share with our spouses.
Yeah.
Because it's not really for them, or with other people that are like right there in our backyard.
It's funny because I was listening to, it was like our recording from our mentorship calls.
Okay. Yeah.
And we recorded that before people came in, before we met with Jerry and Pat. Okay. And you were like, I was actually mentoring you on this topic of being like, I need like to have men like that I could go deeper
good male
with.
friendships.
Yeah. But also like men that you like admired and could learn from, and all that stuff. And so I just think that's really funny because it was like chuckling after like rewatching it, because I was teaching the mentorship course later. I was like, wait a second, that's so cool.
So that's a huge win for me. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah. It was just like over the summer where I was like noticing, so there's more so like friendship and social, like I'm sanguine. And so yes, sometimes I like being home alone and like don't want to talk to anyone. There's my phlegmatic side coming out.
Yeah. She's a flanguin.
I'm a flanguin. Yes.
Flanguin.
It's one of those hybrid animals that Abby always makes us watch on YouTube. Okay. So yes. So I was like, there are so many people in Ave Maria that are all in the same state. Like
state of life.
Yes.
Same,
obviously they're in the same state.
Same, like virtues, visions. Yeah, equally yoked.
All have kids and like all can relate, and
values shared. Yep.
And I was like, this is so dumb that we don't meet like at least once a week or have some type of ongoing social event or something like that. So we were really intentional about getting, what was it, the booster club, so we could like be a part of, like go to the football games. That was great. And then I like told all my friends, like, go become booster club people, like do it.
Greatest deal in town.
It is, because you can feed your whole family.
It's too cheap.
He's going to raise the price. So
I know he will.
But it was really great because you could feed your whole family anyway, and you could go and be with your friends. So that was cool. I also started with a couple women, a local like prayer group that meets once a week, and it's at my house usually, but sometimes other people like do it, and it's just kind of evolved into something really cool. Like it builds us up, and we get like, I don't know, you just get like fed by it.
I laugh at how you guys started with it being a walking with purpose group.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like that was,
I love walking with purpose, but
it's awesome.
It's
and then
not
like,
what the Holy Spirit wanted.
It was like one thing into it. And then you guys, the next time you got together, you're just like, let's just talk and pray.
No, there's like more of a story to that. Actually, I started going through the Encounter Ministry School and School of Ministry, and they do these things called prophetic activations. And it was like, we met 1 week, and then the huge hurricane that everybody was super scared about coming to like Southwest Florida, like
Michael
happened on a Wednesday night, which is when we meet. And the next day we're like, let's meet and just like pray and Thanksgiving. That we were like, okay, you know? And so that was the first time we did a prophetic activation. I was like, well, I mean, we don't have anything besides like, we're like, thank you, Lord, for protecting us. Like I was like, let's just try this. And there was only a handful of us. And then the next time I was like, let's do that again. And everyone's like, yeah, let's do that again. And that's kind of what it started to become, is just like really developing a personal relationship with God, which is awesome.
Which is what your mother did for 35 years.
It was very much a legacy moment where I feel like it was like the torch was passed.
I mean, Joni was just like anointing you.
What is it? What's the story? It's like Elisha, and Elijah. And it's like, give me a double dose of your portion, you know? And that's kind of like anyway, it's cool.
Or like Elijah just passes his underwear over to Elisha.
Yes.
Maybe not underwear. It was some sort of headpiece or something like that.
I know wearing underwear on your head.
I know
What's happening?
Wait, no, he slaps the robe on the stream and it opens up.
Who knows?
Anyways.
But yes, so that actually has been so helpful, having that group.
Very cool.
Yep.
All right. So that's learning. That's learning here. That was
just winning.
Okay. That was winning. Okay. Learning here. You and I need a regular date night.
Yeah.
So this is something.
We felt like a little ashamed when people were like, we have a date night every week. Like they're like religious about it. I'm like, oh, I don't remember the last time we had a date night. Yeah.
Well, because kind of like how work can bleed over into prayer.
Yeah.
Work can bleed over into our date nights.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so it's like might be spending some time together, but we're talking about the business. And there's like, I'm okay with it a little bit, but at the same time, then there's like times where I'm not okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to go and have that time, it doesn't even need like, I like going out to a restaurant.
Me too.
I like going, or even just getting a glass, getting out of the house.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's been a learning, because I know that I'm wired for like mission. I mean, helping people unlock their apostolic mission is part of my missional calling. And so I love to live there. And like the Lord is inviting me, I know, into a deeper, just even in my relationships with you and Avila.
Yeah, same.
And even like Bryant the other day. So like Bryant, he's one of our employees at Metanoia. He lives around the corner. And like, even if Bryant didn't work with us, we'd still be friends, you know? And so about 2 weeks ago, I was just like, I wanted to talk to him about something. And I was just like, yo, you want to go to Oil Well, which is like the local craft beer place here in town. And he's just like, yeah. And he thought I was like inviting him there to like fire him or something like that.
Bryant.
It's like,
because we know you're listening to this.
Which is just so funny. It's just like, no, not even close. But it was just so good to just have a couple of beers on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And just like be dudes and even like talk shop, but we just we're just friends, you know?
Yeah.
And being able to have that, like even like today, this morning I had coffee with Matt Laboda and we talked mission stuff, but like we just got to be friends, you know, which is totally rad as well.
Yeah. So making space, that's kind of like what I learned as you become an adult and you have kids and you have a business or professional life and you have your vocation and you're being pulled in all different areas. I think it's like, and I remember we discussed this the first night we met with the group of women. It's like people move here to Ave and they just think automatically they're going to be plugged into like
inherit it,
a social environment. I'm like, you have to work for it. You still have to work for it. You still have to be intentional about setting time aside to like spend to develop other friendships and other relationships because you can just stay in that like, and then when your kids go off to college, you're like, what do I do with my life? Like I have no identity besides just what I've been nurturing this whole time. So I saw my mom do it as I grew up, you know, like my dad didn't go to the prayer group. Like it was like something that she just loved doing and it fed her. And also I saw it have a great effect on their relationship. Like my dad had his own friends, my mom had their own friends, and then they had a couple of friends, you know, but like, she's like, never make your husband your counselor. You know, it's like, if you just need a friend, like that's why it's so important to just have like actual friends.
Yeah. Great little Joni metrics here. Okay.
Yes. So simple.
Ready to move on to the next category? All right. We got two more. So physical fitness. All right. I'm going to kind of go through this real quick for me. All right. Winning. We did our detox. So we did.
And it was a detox.
Yeah. We did something called the Pump Up program. Not cheap, but it purged the demons out of my body. So that was.
We got the couple deal. So we both did it.
Yeah. So that was good.
I feel like that helped us grow in relationship too.
Well, you know what? It started
struggling together.
Yes. Yeah. Like there's definitely a cross that was part of that detox, but it kind of started to help us diagnose where there were some physical factors, some elements that we're dealing with, mold. Right. And so being able to kind of get to a baseline level of health where like Aaron was like getting sick. Every time Avila came home from school with a cold, Aaron would get sick. And then that would just be stressful in the business, stressful in the marriage. And so it's like, all right, Lord, like, please help us, like guide us.
It was an answer to prayer because he's also a Christian too, which is like cool. His story is like very much like, I didn't know what was going on with my body. And anyway, but it was just cool because you could kind of trust the source a little bit more.
Yep. Anyway. And then we invested in getting some mold treatment in our air conditioning.
That was another piece of
which has done. Yeah. So we had mold. We found out in our air conditioning. Aaron's super sensitive to it. Everybody's sensitive to it, but like she would just get verklempt. And the reason why she was sniffling so many times on the podcast is because of the mold in our vents.
And this room was like the worst, actually. I don't know.
It's like right next to this.
Yeah.
Thing. So
I would actually smell mold when I would come in here. Our house is like new. It's like 2 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is going on?
So win over the mold, win over the toxins in our bodies. Like that's great.
Yep.
And I got my rowing machine, like super stoked on that. Been wanting to get one of these, a nice concept too, but they're so expensive. I found one on Facebook Marketplace for like half the price, which was awesome. And that kind of revealed a lesson here. So learning. So
Wait. Can I share mine?
you got another?
Yeah, mine was more internal, but I think you can, and I think the ladies can like relate to this, but so often we can be like, oh, I just want to be, mine's more internal. It's like a thought pattern. And for so long I was like, I just want to be skinny. I want to be skinny. Like I know all of the ladies are like thinking that too. Maybe not everyone, but, it was this moment of like praying. So there's a spilling over from the prayer thing, but I remember the Lord just being like, what else do you want? Like, besides that, obviously it was like it wasn't just like that wasn't my prayer all the time. It wasn't that vain, but it was kind of like, what else do you want for your body? And I was like, I just want to be strong, actually. Like, I'd actually take strength and like being fit over being skinny any day. Cause like, just like develop, like, I just like when you feel like hard.
Firm.
Yeah. Like I like that. And I don't know, there was this realization that I was like, that actually is how my body works. That is how my body has always been. It's just like, I have more of a capacity to grow in muscle, I think.
Cool. Yes.
So that was like a cool shift. And I remember that happening right around my birthday, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. One of the high points of my physical fitness journey this year was when my daughter said I was the perfect hunk.
She was learning what the word hunk meant, but I just thought it was really funny. Like, I had to tell Matt.
So cool. All right. So learning, all right, about my body. So I turned 40 last December. I'm about to be 41 here today as this podcast is releasing. Last year on my birthday, I just went out for like a 6-mile run and came back broken. All of a sudden, just stuff shifting around my body from where my back just went out, and it was out bad. Like it was painful to the point where it's just like the nauseating pain, like you feel like you're going to throw up, and it wouldn't go away. It was like
happy birthday.
I had it
Happy 40th.
solid like that for about a week and a half, and it was I couldn't sleep well. It was just there was no position, no relief that was here. I'd never had something like that happen. So there was a bit of a dying to self that's going on where it's like, all right, so here's my melancholic showing up, learning that my peak fitness, is in my past, and that's okay. Like, I know that like that could be a thought and I could be like, oh, I'm going to rally for it. But like, that's on the natural course of events, my body's going to continue to deteriorate. Right. And so there's a little bit of an acceptance that I'm finding peace in that. Doesn't mean that I've stopped working out, but it's just like, okay, like I don't have to be, like I was back in my 20s. Yeah. Right.
You're not a 20-year-old anymore.
Yeah. I'm not going to be like CrossFitting it crazy like I was back then. So, so that was kind of that's been a lesson learned for me. So, but that's also been, as I've been working through that, it's been bringing up a lot of my vanity that was there.
Yep.
And a lot of my self-worth tied into body image, physical fitness, the ability to kind of lift and, look a certain way. And so that's been, and I know the Lord is allowing that to kind of like perfect that imperfection.
I think I went through that this year too. And I've really just kind of come back to like what I just shared. Like I'd rather be strong. I actually rather be strong. And my body is different from when it was 20. And the way that I get strong at 40 or, over 40 is different from how I would get that way. So it's kind of like moved me on a little bit of an explorative trajectory of this. I mean, like, and also like, what do I really love to eat? And I still eat mainly keto food just because of other conditions that I have. I can't really do sugar. So, but like just giving myself that permission and not always having so much guilt and shame around it. I found that I was like really starting to have that guilt and shame again, like the kind I used to have like in high school. And it was just like, there was a hyper focus on it. And Lord's just like, you know what works? Just like explore that and then leave the rest to me. And it's been really cool.
Yeah. It's funny. My mom, who's a carnivore, I was on a text string with her and my uncle, her brother, and they were going back and forth with somebody. And finally my uncle, who's just so witty, he's just like, darn it, just eat a donut, would you? Just go to Krispy Kreme and get something. Just like eat a donut for goodness sake.
Right.
Okay. Finally, we wrap up here with our final category. We got family wins. I gotta say, top of my list, it was just our trip to Anna Maria Island.
Mine was same. Yeah, mine was same.
We went there with so we went twice this year. Mm-hmm. That was where my parents' 70th. They love spending time. My sister and I, we and our families, we pooled in together to rent a place that we all could be at, and we all could be comfortable at it. And it was just a blast. We were there for 4 days or 5 days, 4 nights. During Super Bowl Sunday, it was a blast.
Yeah, it was great.
Created a good memory.
Mm-hmm. Mine was the same.
All right.
Yeah.
Learning. I'm a choleric. My daughter's melancholic. I am learning how to parent as a choleric parent. That
I would think that you would have more of, I don't know, because you're secondary melancholic, so you can understand that side. And I that's mine too, is just learning how to parent and also learning how to be a spouse to somebody who is opposite of me and my temperaments too.
Yeah. When I'm triggered though, I go choleric. Like my choleric shows up as get my power back.
Right.
So yeah, I stopped I stopped relating well. So
yep.
Cool. All right. Here we are. That's been our win and learning column. As we've gone through this, it's been actually feels like it's just a bunch of wins,
because it is.
Look at it.
Because learning is always winning, my friends.
Like that.
When you reframe it that way, there you go.
Yeah.
No
so
such
what
thing
was
as
your
failure.
wins? What were your wins? What were your learning opportunities here? Chat them in below here if you got on YouTube. And if you want more wins and more learning, join us in our academy here in 2025. Let that be your commitment, because we're getting very intentional with the journey path and helping people unlock their apostolic mission and grow in their gifts.
Aren't you at all curious about what your apostolic mission is? Because
I'm curious.
Holy cow. I know that question comes up all the time. What does God call me to do? And we're not claiming to give you the answer to that, but we are giving you a path to discover that with the Lord. So, all right, guys, we will see you next year.
Happy New Year. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.